Drop your anchor and sit a while. I'll tell you a tale that'll have you crying for your dear old ma'am. Ocracoke Island was once the hidey hole of a treacherous spawn of the devil himself, Edward Teach, Blackbeard the pirate. Beyond the dunes be Teach's hole, and that be where he lost his very soul and his head. 'Twas Lieutenant Maynard that done the deed. Aye, lads and lasses, echoes that very day be a echoing in the breeze. Damn you for villains! Who are ye? And from whence come ye?
You may see from our colours we are no pirates.
You see, the English dogs in their sloops were a scurrying closer and closer, though confounded by the shoals. Send your boat on board so I might see who you are.
I cannot spare my boat, but I will come aboard you as soon as I can with my sloop.
Blackbeard and his men were fresh from a carousing, and like Belshazzar's feast, old Teach saw the writing on the wall and knew its dark meaning. Damnation seize my soul if I give you quarter or take any from you.
I expect no quarter from you, nor shall I give
The
it.
brethren gave him a broadside, 8 cannon a belching fury at the English ships, but unflagged they were. Soon the tide be a-rising, a-lifting 'em off the sandy bottom. And while a-drawling closer, old Maynard set a trap. 'Twas a dirty trick, alluring Blackbeard into battle he was. They were all knocked on the head, but 3 or 4, blast ya, board her and cut them to pieces. Aye, an 8-gun broadside, and a bursting grenadoes did appear to the eye, to thin Maynard's dogs to but a few. The dead be a-littering the deck, dead as doornails. 'Twas Blackbeard who first came aboard, prepared to give no quarter. The day and this ship is mine. Surrender or meet the devil himself.
The only devil amongst us is you, Teach.
'Twas then a band of bloodthirsty English jack-tars came a-bursting from the hold, and a great bloody battle of cutlasses and pistols did rage. Soon Blackbeard was a-poised to deal a death blow upon Maynard, but a filthy rat came a-creeping on his stern side and cut him deep upon his neck. Finally the devil, Blackbeard, be a-lying dead upon the deck. And that ain't be all. That's be when stories a-spreading amongst the crew. Some say with their own eyes old Blackbeard been shot through 5 times and cut with 20 deep slashes. All of 'em, there upon that day, to a man a-swearing on their lives, that after a-heaving his body o'er the gunwale, old Blackbeard's headless body a-flapping like a fish, did swum round the boat 3 times afore a-sinking into Davy Jones's locker. I'd be a-telling you, it'd be hogwash if I hadn't a-seen his ghost myself. Late one night, as I be a-walking the shore at Teach's Hole, I saw with my own eyes a light a-moving under the waves. They say it be Blackbeard a-swim in the water in his endless searching. And if it be a stormy night, and the rain a-coming down in sheets, they say you can still hear Blackbeard's ghost a-wailing in the wind. If you be on the sand, you can hear him a-calling. Where's my head? Where's my head? This I be a-swearing upon my very soul. Welcome to Into the Unknown with Mike and John, Season 2, Episode 7. Today, we weigh anchor and sail beyond the Chesapeake, south to the outer banks of North Carolina, to investigate the tall tales of that notorious pirate, Blackbeard. So heave to and come aboard. I'm Mike Duber.
And I'm John Fitzpatrick.
And we've strained our voices already.
Again. Oh, that hurt.
I know. We're doing our hoity-toiter voices, and we're already exhausted by it.
All right, so Blackbeard today, huh?
Yes.
Hey, do you know what kind of grades what kind of grades Blackbeard got in school?
Tell me.
High C's.
High C's.
All right, I will. All right, I got one out. All right, and we'll.
That's good. How did that land? I don't know. It was kind of
I've got
landed on the rocky shores.
On the rocky shores. I've got more, but we'll sprinkle them in.
Yeah, be kind. Be kind. Be
I'll
kind.
be kind.
They're fine. They're
Okay.
fine.
Right.
Okay, well, I mean, the history of Blackbeard, the pirate's bloody demise in Teach's Hole is well-accepted history. On the southern edge of the North Carolina Outer Banks, just off the southern edge of Ocracoke Island, Lieutenant Maynard killed Blackbeard in hand-to-hand combat November 22nd, 1718. And the ghost story from our dramatic opening, well, that's probably lore, although you could visit Ocracoke and go a-searching for Old Teach.
Old Teach.
And his eerie, ghostly light beneath the waves. Yep, I can feel that in my throat.
But you can't stop doing it once you start.
I know. It's addicting. It's addicting. It's like I start the voice and then I want to ram people with my car and board them. And
you know what would be great is if they had a whole day devoted to talking like a pirate. Oh,
that would be a wonderful
they
idea.
do. Actually, I think that's September 18th. I think it's my anniversary. Coincidence.
What a crime of the high seas.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just
That's fine. I think it's yeah. Well, let's press on and see what happens. We can be a press gang. Oddly enough, for as famous as Blackbeard became after his death, that ghost story is the most prominent one attributed to him that I could find. And frankly, as for treasure, there are a few leads, I guess you can call them, and most experts think it's unlikely he buried anything at all. I mean,
my understanding is there's only been one pirate treasure recovered. Did you know this?
Oh, I mean, like at all, ever?
Yeah. There's lots of stories, but there's only been one recovered, and it belongs to the pirate ship, the Ouida. And there's a museum on Cape Cod, which my family visited not long ago.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be the source of all of the little memes about pirates, right? And burying.
Oh,
it
no,
came from one story.
Treasure Island definitely had the market cornered on that.
Yeah, but what I mean is,
don't let me drag you off
here. It actually came from what they and it could be that they did it temporarily. It's not that they were trying to store it forever. So,
right.
Anyway, so why bother with Old Teach? Well, it turns out there are other elements of Blackbeard's story in the North Carolina coast that are just plain weird. I mean, I've got some books that are full of interesting little stories, and this is well worth digging into. There's a lot of unknown territory. So let's find out a little more about Blackbeard, the era, and then what happens after he was killed.
Ooh, some history. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm going to need your help on this.
Yeah, well, we'll see how much I know.
Yeah. Edward Teach, or Blackbeard, here I go, great, straying into that voice. Edward Teach, or Blackbeard, is one of the most, if not the most, recognized pirates of the West Indies and the eastern coast of the Americas. There's no record of his early life, really, as some suggest he was likely born in Bristol, and he made his way to the New World on a merchant, slave, or warship. I mean, Queen Anne's War was from 1702 to 1713, and so the North American theater of the war was
So if I remember our order of episodes appropriately, we mentioned in Maud Dyer that the West Indies were sort of a roiling conflict area whenever the European powers decided to fight. It went out to the colonies. So and I double checked this one as well. Queen Anne's War is what it's known here in the States for some reason, But this is the War of Spanish Succession.
That's
so
correct.
that's why they're really fighting. Is that the Spanish monarch is succeeding, and the other powers had to take advantage of the destabilized Europe. Go on.
Yeah. Well, eventually, despite where he may have been born, it's understood he arrived on New Providence Island in the Bahamas around 1716. And this is important because this is where he becomes involved in piracy. Now, New Providence was an uninhabited island used by pirates as a base of operations. It was close to the sailing routes along the east coast of Florida. And here's where ships of all varieties traveled with rich, enticing cargo, including Spanish treasure ships.
He's a Spanish man.
Yes, that's right. Those immense galleons carrying gold back to Spain for the Spanish crown. And it's here Blackbeard joined the crew of pirate Benjamin Hornigold around 1716. So his career begins here. Now, this era is known as the Golden Age of Piracy. It lasted from the 1650s to the 1730s. This was when the West Indies, or the Caribbean, was a crucible of war, commerce, colonialism, crossed with a lack of effective government, minimal or no law-enforcing navy to speak of, and a plethora of ships and sailors, all in a water-dominated island and coastal town setting. How's that for a big soup?
It's almost like they should make a movie about that or something.
Should.
Maybe
yeah.
More than one? I don't know.
Could be. Or maybe make a amusement ride out of it.
Something like that.
Yeah, something.
Great idea.
Well, this is a recipe for piracy, and that is just what was cooking on the boucanier.
Oh!
Now, some of you might recognize the boucanier, or maybe it rings true in your ears. Do you want to explain that one?
Briefly?
Because I'd be happy to.
Well...
I mean, the yeah, well, all right.
Anyway, this is
a deep cut.
This is the etymology of the word buccaneer. It comes from a French word, which I will probably now mangle, boucan, and it refers to an open grill, which was really, it said grill, but it's really more of a wooden frame.
Yeah, and they would, on the island of Hispaniola, the natives there, and when we say natives, I mean, it's an amalgam of all kinds of people.
Right.
But on the island, they would use green wood chutes and build basically a barbecue. And they would also build these frames and structures and smoke their meat as well.
Yeah.
Now, these same people that were using the boucanier, as they were known, became pirates, right? They realized that all of this commerce is out there, and when the ships were looking for men to crew them, they volunteered, and so those of the boucanier became buccaneers.
Not to mention that once you smoke the meat, you can now put it aboard the ship for for provisions. Yes,
Yep.
It would keep for like up to 6 months. Yeah, and I found a recipe. We can put it into the show notes for boucan chicken.
Yeah,
if you just happen to have some green wood grills,
got a machete, and you can build yourself a barbecue. Now, Blackbeard, was not a boucanier cook, as it were, but nor was he a chef, as far as we know. He, though, is probably best known for his psychological warfare. Now, imagine you're a merchant captain on a minimally armed ship. Across the water, a large man dressed in black paces the stern deck under his black flag of piracy. He stands over 6 feet tall. Even at a distance, his massive, braided black beard covering his face stands out. He's waving a cutlass and a pistol, yelling curses at you, all while acrid gray smoke encircles his head. On the middeck, his crew taunts you, describing your fate in detail if you do not surrender immediately. Well... And surrender they did.
Yes.
Under that sort of gaze, most sane people would. Blackbeard cultivated this look carefully because looking like a demon from hell works. And I threw in Krampus there because it works for him,
It works for him, too. Yeah, our friend the Krampus.
Yeah, you can compel people with that look.
It does tend to bring them back into line, doesn't it?
It does.
That's
But
the
it's
whole
interesting, though, because Krampus, as we called him in the episode, was lawful. Blackbeard, on the other
Is
hand,
not.
not really lawful. Although, it's not quite cut and dry. Surprisingly, Blackbeard is not on record for killing anyone during his career. Instead, he compelled his enemies into submission. Victims were more than happy to turn over their goods in exchange for their lives. And it was probably also helpful for Blackbeard that there were true piratical monsters doing unspeakable things to captives. There are examples of pirates that were really, really horrible and, downright nasty. So it probably helped his case quite a bit. Regardless, Blackbeard, as were many other pirates of his day, he was considered a threat to peaceful trade. As culture started, establishing itself, they started to look differently on the pirates.
Yeah, while the West Indies was still a bit chaotic, the North American colonies were trying to come into some form of respectability.
Yeah.
So, which is, I think, where you're going with this next.
Well, I took out a big section here because I was editing. But the part that I took out was basically a discussion that when a pirate pulled to port, he may have had things that the locals needed.
Yeah.
And frankly, he was looking to the pirates were looking to unload it. The people were looking for a bargain. And when when the market is there and the market the lawful market doesn't have what you need.
Right. Well, they had intercepted the lawful market. That's the thing that most people don't consider in the act of piracy, is that when you pull over a merchant ship and waylay it, you're grabbing their cargo,
right?
Which is not gold doubloons per se.
Not all. It's mostly not likely.
Yeah, it's likely to be cloth or something. So now you have to fence that when you pull into port. So that's where you're making your money. Right.
Rum and whatever, and the triangle trade is used to call it. We could go down a big rabbit hole of other types of exchanges at that time as well. But to include the articles on the ship that managed the actions of the crew and that sort of thing. But
right.
That's not what we're covering.
Oh, okay.
We'll come back to that though. I
like
do want to come back.
We should come back to that.
Well, we're definitely coming back.
Pirates.
Yar. Arr. Okay. So he was considered a threat to peaceful trade by the governor of Virginia, Alexander Spotswood. Oh, boy. And sadly for Blackbeard, in 1718, Spotswood, beyond his jurisdiction, I might add, but you may not be surprised, he sent the English Navy under the command of Lieutenant Robert Maynard after Blackbeard. Now, this encroached on the territory of Governor Charles Eden of North Carolina, but there really was no consequence for doing so, and truth be told, Eden was accused of supporting Blackbeard's illicit activity and taking a share of it.
So let me get this straight. Are you saying that Virginia invaded North Carolina?
No, I wouldn't call it an invasion. I wouldn't call it an invasion,
okay.
Even though he was a citizen of Bath, North Carolina. It was really just interdicting against a known pirate. I mean, no one would have said otherwise. Now, as you can see there, Eden is benefiting from the illicit activities, as are probably many others that are familiar with him. But on the other hand, as you said, right, they're trying to bring law and order, and Spotswood certainly stood on the other side of that, trying to bring order. So off Maynard goes to kill Blackbeard. And on November 22nd, the battle ensued. And we talked about that in our opening. Blackbeard and most of his men were put down. As we learned, it took 5 pistol shots and 20 saber slashes to slay him. That's not legend. That got written down as truth, the outcome of the battle. Then Blackbeard's head was removed from his body and hung from the bowsprit of Maynard's ship. But this is where it becomes even more interesting. Since Blackbeard's death, there are a handful of stories about what actually happened to his head,
or more accurately, his skull.
Skull.
Skull and bones.
I was feeling paranoid.
That's all right. Lay it on me, baby. Some say Governor Spotswood and the men who defeated Blackbeard took his head from the bowsprit of Maynard's ship, and it was placed on a pike at the mouth of the Chesapeake as a warning to other would-be pirates. Others think it was rescued by Blackbeard's mates, the Brethren of the Coast. Now, there is some evidence of varying strength and believability for each of these different story arcs, and one story that is really a tall tale. So let's look at each one, but most importantly, what was purportedly done to the skull of Blackbeard itself. Now let's turn our attention to a story from a lifelong denizen of the North Carolina coast who has one heck of a tale to tell. In 1989, Judge Charles Harry Wedby published a book titled Blackbeard's Cup and Stories of the Outer Banks. It's still available for purchase, and I purchased mine while vacationing on the Outer Banks in the early 90s, so it has the air of the Outer Banks.
It was still new.
Between the pages.
Oh.
Here is a condensed version of the story that we care about. It's summertime in the 1930s on the Outer Banks. Young 20-year-old Charles Wedby has a friend named Jack, also 20, who received a tip from a banker friend of the family about a rare and strange event that occurs on Ocracoke Island. Now, Jack is well-versed in North Carolina coastal legends, so Jack, the quest bringer, invites Charles to play, setting a good stage for summer adventure. The Outer Banks in the 1930s was not the beach vacation haven we know today. It still had long spans of undeveloped beach. Even more remote was Ocracoke Island. Now, there was a ferry in those days, but the boys hired a boat for the crossing. They arrived on the island, ate dinner at the Pamlico Inn. I mean, that's quite a landmark down there, so that's why I mentioned that. And also, I'm setting up a tale, so I can refer to this later when we come back to North Carolina, because we're coming back here, too. Now, and when they're at the Pamlico Inn, they ate, and when dusk arrived, they set off into the darkness, onto the island, and dare I say, into the unknown.
The unknown.
On the unknown, although Wedby doesn't put it that way.
No.
No, he doesn't. It wasn't as exciting as we are.
I probably should have said, when you said summer adventure,
Adventure.
I need to punctuate these better for you. Go on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so it gives me a chance to get a drink of water for my aching voice.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, I'll cover for you here. Here, let me give you another joke at this point. Why did the sailor join the pirate crew?
Why?
Peer pressure.
Oh my gosh. I like drink my water.
Okay,
That's
I'm
good.
trying to cover for your water drinking. Keep going. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Back into it.
Yeah, dead air is a bad thing, folks.
That's it.
Okay.
Well, it's not dead.
No.
It's dead. You can hear me laughing into my glass. Charles followed Jack across town to a large white clapboard house, known in those days as Blackbeard's Castle. Now, that was also factual. There was there was a house.
Is it there, or was it there?
It's not there anymore,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think. I'd have to look into that, but there was an old house there, and they called it Blackbeard's
Well,
Castle.
now you've got my curiosity.
Yeah. So they arrive at Blackbeard's Castle, which is really just a clapboard house. Looks pretty much just like a colonial type house. They cross the porch, and Jack knocked 3 times. The door opened, and an imposing bearded man stood before them.
How ironic.
"What do you want?" he asked. Jack replied, "Death to Spotswood."
That's fantastic. Probably just
right.
like he was probably like, Death to Spotswood?
Death to Spotswood?
Death to Spotswood?
Yeah, because he's 20 after all, and he's probably
there's
peeing his drawers.
An imposing bearded man.
We can see where this is going.
Yep, I'm sorry. Go on.
It's all right. Charles uttered the same, and they're allowed in, okay? Now, the front room was wood-paneled, and a single oak table sat in the center. Upon it, a single lantern. Seated around it are about a dozen burly, bearded men who are said to use the hoy-toyed talk.
Hoy-toyed.
And basically, that's what we were doing all through the introduction.
You do it better than I do.
Hoy-toyed.
Hoy-toyed.
Hoy-toyed talk. And even in, we got the Hoitoide, hoy-toyed talk, to help you understand how to pronounce it.
Hoy-toyed.
Jack and Charles were then told to place their hands on the Bible and swear that they would not reveal what occurred in the room for 35 years.
I'm going to have to count here, but I think they made it.
Yeah, they made it. Oh, they made it.
Okay.
But it's not 34 and it's not 36. It's very specifically 35 years. Why? I don't know.
I didn't ask. You did.
Why?
But that's okay. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Why, Mike?
Oh.
Why did they say 35 years, Mike?
We'll get to that.
Okay, we're having fun.
We'll get to
it's
that.
pirates. How
Yeah.
can you not have fun?
And the next line I've written here, typewritten a little while ago.
Yeah.
Interesting they would use a Bible. But let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going. Now, with the solemn, very specific oath in place, they sat. Soon, a silence fell amongst the burly men there. Through a separate door, the burly doorman walks in, holding a large, strangely shaped silver cup. That's silver cup, because that's my voice cutting out.
Silver cup.
Silver cup. He hands it to the man seated at the head of the table. He stands, raises the cup, and utters,
Death to Spotswood.
He sipped from the odd chalice and passed it to the next man.
Death to Spotswood.
That's one way to say it. I don't think that's hoy-toyed talk.
Oh, you want death to Spotswood.
There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. It's not. It's not Broadway.
They seem to be very single-minded, though.
Like Broadway directors sitting around drinking. Okay, the cup came to Charles. All right, so it's passed around and it's come to Charles. Now he made the same utterance and drank, tasting a strong corn whiskey. Charles notes he got a very good look at the cup during the several times it was passed to him. Now here's the point we need to focus on. He describes the cup as the top of a skull cut clean away to form a cup or bowl, with two arc-like dips on the rim, or these are the tops of the eye sockets. Do you have a visual of that? It's like you lopped off the top of the skull,
and
then
I have a very clear
you
visual
turn it
of
over,
that.
and the brain, the top of the head becomes the bottom of the bowl.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Which we could then
Yeah.
put the silver into.
Yes.
We did say silver, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's silver. Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you
Right.
have a visual of it, because that's picture.
I have
it's
a
if
very
someone
clear
just
one.
like took a clean lateral cut off the top of someone's head and then took that top and turned it over. So basically, like the whole face and the jaw are gone. It's just the top of the head. And that's important. Now, also on the edge of the silver bowl is engraved "Death to Spotswood." Big surprise there, but it's complete with the specific Elizabethan English misspellings. Death is D-E-T-H, and Spotswood has that English E on the end, S-P-O-T-S-W-O-O-D-E.
Woody.
That's the extra E.
Extra.
And notice there's no R.
For England.
That's right. Soon the men were loosened up and chatty. They told tales of Blackbeard, and although drinking buddies, Charles never learned a single surname. And I'm pinning that also. 'Cause
Okay.
That's you'll see.
Okay.
Although convivial, having some corn whiskey and everything.
Right.
Little Charles says the boys feigned the need for fresh air, went outside, and made their escape, ending their adventure at Blackbeard's castle. Now, here's an interesting part. Wedby ends this story from his book with an offer. It's written in the book.
Okay.
He says, for $1,000, I'm going to pay to the person to hold that silver cup long enough for examination and an X-ray, all confidentially. He warns against fakers, saying he is certain to spot forgeries. Now, many have cast doubt on the story for many reasons. To my ears, there are plenty of disingenuous tones in the story that we've just related here.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah. And frankly, I think he just wants to get his hands on it. And although clever, he's overplayed his hand. And then let's find out why. So just maybe before we move on, I want to make sure everybody's clear of what happens here. So it's assumed that the skull of Blackbeard was used to make a silver skull. Wedby is saying he ran across this skull in his 20s, in the 1930s when he was 20. And at the end of the story, he's saying, no one knows where it is, but if you do, I will offer you $1,000 so that I can hold it again in my hands and then have it X-rayed. So anyway.
Okay. And it's just the top of the skull.
It is the top.
It's just that brain pan.
It's the brain pan,
but the upside down.
Yeah,
brain pan.
yeah. And again, those dips are the eye.
Not the face of the
it's
skull,
not the
nose, the
facial
teeth, the jaws, the upper jaw.
That's
those
all
cheekbones,
gone.
all that's gone. It's just
at least the conception that he's saying,
right,
by his description,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think I misunderstood that the first couple of times I read the material, both what you have here and then the other stuff that was around. So that's why I'm like, let's be absolutely clear.
Yeah, that's why I'm stopping.
Right.
That's why I wanted to make sure, because later on it becomes important.
Right.
Because we're going to get to that.
I know. Now I know exactly where we're going.
That's good. Yeah, good. I'm glad we stopped because that's important. Okay, folks, let's move on with all these.
Did you get any water?
Grisly images in mind. I have.
Okay.
I'm actually doing okay.
I've got more
I'm talking normally again.
I've got more jokes.
Oh, well, I could use it. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Did you hear about the boxing pirate?
I didn't.
He had a vicious left hook.
Oh my God. I won't touch
the
that
look
one.
on your face.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
yes. I said
it's a shame.
I've got jokes. Mike's like, oh God, no.
Well,
He's very kind to let me use a few.
Amazed that for as bloodthirsty as some of them were, and some of them were really nasty pieces of work. I mean, Blackbeard wasn't a nice guy.
No,
frankly.
he was a thief and robber.
Man,
it was strong arm robbery, if nothing, even if he didn't kill anybody.
I'm sure. Well, I'm certain his men, caused some damage.
And he had been a privateer in a war, so my suspicion is that when he was part of a crew, he fought and killed people in his youth.
Well, and in the battle in the end, I mean, they said he was a juggernaut, so he probably killed somebody during his last battle for sure.
Right.
But during the piracy that he was executing on the high seas, it was not. But he was nasty too, because he would do things to his crew with the express intent to maintain power. Like he shot. I'm gonna have to look this up, but it might have been Israel Hands. But under the table in the cabin where they're drinking, he just pulls his pistol and touches it off under the table, hitting the guy in the leg across from him. And he's like, why would you do that? He's like, I got to let you know, I'm your captain.
Who's boss?
That's right. And I just strained my voice again.
Oh, there you did it. Okay.
That's all right. Okay.
Well.
All right. So this section is called Modern Day Fakery. So let's now work our way backwards from some modern facts. Okay. So now we're in the modern day. Today, the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts is in possession of a skull that supposedly belonged to Edward Teach. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, it was donated by the family of Edward R. Snow. Now, he was born in 1902 and died in 1982. And here's another guy with over 100 published books.
We are not.
What is up with that?
We are not as productive as we
I'm
think
behind.
we are. Yeah, we're a little behind.
I've got 2 unpublished novels written, and I'm a long way from 100.
But
much less published.
We do have a whole season of
we
podcasting
do.
under our
True.
belts.
That's true.
Let's look on the bright side,
That's
Mike.
true. Yeah. No, I'm not lamenting.
No, we're doing fine. we've been productive.
So anyway, the Peabody has this skull, and it was donated from Edward R. Snow's holdings after his death. Excuse me. Now, Snow is a Massachusetts native. He's best known as a writer of nautical history to include pirates. So Blackbeard was in his wheelhouse. Okay, so this guy knows Blackbeard, pirates, and nautical history. Now, Snow claims he took possession of the skull while in Virginia conducting research. He said the artifact sat on the mantle of an historic pub after it was acquired from Alexander Spotswood, the governor of Virginia, if you recall.
Okay.
This might be Raleigh's Tavern in Williamsburg, Virginia, and there are claims it was there.
Okay.
So that all lines up.
But there's no information about when he took possession. You didn't run into anything on that?
It wasn't meaningful to this telling here, but we could go back.
No, my suspicion is that it is vague because I don't recall running into it either. It just struck me that we don't have any idea how long he had it.
Yeah, he's trying to put himself in. I've got lots of questions about why he suddenly has it, why they would suddenly let him grab it and take it.
Yeah, I mean, Williamsburg has been a historic preserve for many years. I don't know off the top of my head exactly when, Colonial Williamsburg, the historic corporation started, but it's been decades.
Yeah,
And Raleigh Tavern's been there the whole time. Why would somebody just let this random person come in, no matter who he is, and take the stuff?
And this is the same type of light that gets illuminating Wedby's story as well.
Sure.
Okay. So Robert E. Lee's comprehensive Blackbeard book, and I'll just stop there a minute. Robert E. Lee is an author who wrote quite the book on Blackbeard.
And not the general.
Not the general.
Much like David Paulides is not a Beatle. This Robert E. Lee is not the other Robert E. Lee that you may have heard of.
This was a book written, I think, like the 60s or 70s. Now, he says the skull hung on a pike at the mouth of the Chesapeake, and that in time, someone took down the grim souvenir and fashioned it into the base of a large punch bowl. And then what I did there is I highlighted into the base of a large punch bowl, which makes me, I'm now digging in on the words, and I have a different thought about what could have actually happened. But let's keep going with the way I've written it here, and then we can talk about it at the end.
Okay.
Now, Lee says the bowl rested in the Raleigh Tavern, and now he's citing the 1898 Annals of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, Volume 2, by John F. Watson, who states the skull was enlarged with silver, and I have seen those whose forefathers have spoken of their drinking punch from it with a silver ladle appurtenant to that bowl. So that is a massive quote from this book from 1898 where someone is saying, we've seen this skull, it's been enlarged with silver, and enlarged is another interesting word.
I have an idea based on what they're describing that it's just simply the skull now, not just the top brain pan, but the skull is part of some kind of punch bowl base.
And they keep saying, like, if there's a ladle,
right?
What it is, it's built into the base,
right? But it's not the bowl itself.
It's not the bowl itself.
Right.
So there's no part of the actual skull is where the liquid is being held. I'm envisioning a punch bowl that is a proper bowl.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, like the foot of this punch bowl, is the skull, and it's built into it in a fashion. So. Anyway, that's doing a lot of digging. But to the point that we need to make is it is not what Wedby describes at all.
Right.
But let's keep going. So we have two stories claiming one skull becomes a drinking vessel, but where is it now, and is it authentic? Now, regarding its authenticity, one story claims Snow's donated artifact was created from a biology class skull painted with silver radiator paint and presumably displayed during his lecture circuits.
Classy.
Yeah. Okay.
Super classy.
And this should be easy to test, right? Right.
I've chromed the skull. I've gone to the automotive store.
Not even chrome. I've grabbed
the paint.
Vastly better.
Yeah, that's true.
It would be vast. This is radiator paint.
Yeah,
this is basically
crazy.
But on the other hand, we don't really have many statements from Snow. Did he actually pass it off, or was it like, yeah, sure, it's real, with a grin, like wink, wink.
Right.
Because he's telling stories and he's traveling with this thing. But we don't know. Anyway, so what does the museum say?
What does the museum say,
These are the
Mike?
experts.
Yeah, what does the museum say?
They have this thing. It was donated, and it was like, oh, here's his books, and here's, some notes, and here's this skull painted with paint. Okay. So the Peabody Essex does not officially authenticate it as the pirate's skull, but also cannot or has not proven it is not the skull. Now, they confirm donation from Snow's family, right? Yes, they gave us this. But due to a lack of proof of any kind, it is not on public display. Now, that said, it has been lent to other museums for temporary exhibits with the disclaimer going along with it about its uncertain origins. And that seems very reasonable and responsible. So they don't display it, but others can display it upon request. Now, that's one approach, I guess, but let's dig in a little more. The Peabody Essex is one of the oldest continuously operating museums in the U.S. Now, they have a reputation to uphold. They are also in Salem, where history and lore collide in interesting ways.
Yes.
The witches. And we can only speculate why they don't want to display the artifact. Even as a forgery, and given a maritime tradition, they don't want to.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just speculating. This is just Mike, and I'm even separating my opinion from you, John. But perhaps given the predilection for it to feature in dark, furtive rituals, maybe they don't want to attract the wrong attention. And is the witch lore already too much fringy material? However historically based it can be presented, do they want a museum that strictly, has artifacts that the modern-day brethren of the coast would want to come and commune with somehow, or even break in and grab it?
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So what do you think on that while we're here?
I think there's a longer discussion to be had about that, and I think we should continue on our journey with Blackbeard, and then maybe circle back to Peabody Essex.
Okay.
And we can see whether...
Because you've got some ideas there.
I certainly do. And we can see whether or not we've got time to fit it into the main episode, or if we want to split that recording off into a pin report.
Okay, sounds good.
About some speculation in regards to this.
Okay, because I know you enjoyed that
I did.
part of it and dug in on it.
Yeah,
you may have found some other things that I didn't.
Right.
But I found a decent enough part of it.
I don't know how much more I found, but I have some other information about this.
Well, and also,
you're on the right track.
You're a little closer to the museum.
I visited
people.
it. Yeah.
Well, and also your daughter has sort of the same.
Yeah, I'll bring that up as well.
The mentality of the responsibility and so.
Press on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going.
Eyes on the horizon, mate.
Further, folklorists and historians Gina and Tom Metcalf, on their old defunct website, had a picture of them holding the skull. Okay? Now, Tom Metcalf said he found no reason to doubt its authenticity. Interesting. Now, the Wayback Machine allowed me to grab this picture. We will put it in the show notes, and I'm going to describe it to you just so you know exactly what we're... Yeah, it's right there. And again, let me just set the scene here.
Sure.
We've got folklorists and the folklorists/historians Gene and Tom Metcalf. So this couple had a website. They had their picture taken with the skull, because I guess at some point on their website they were covering this story about the lore. And Tom, this gentleman, says, I don't have any reason to doubt it's authentic. Okay, so you've got the picture of the two of them, and they're standing next to one another. That's Gene and Tom. And she is holding a skull. It is a properly sized skull. It looks completely authentic as far as skulls are concerned. It has a silverish look to it, but frankly, it looks like someone painted it with radiator paint, frankly.
It does.
And what's missing is the jaw, but it's, there's no jaw, but it is a skull. So I would not call that silver plated. I would not call that enlarged. as other descriptions go. But it gets worse.
It's just the skull.
It's just
there's
the
no
skull.
punch bowl.
No,
involved
there's
here.
nothing that says to me like I'm going to take a drink from this of any kind. Okay, and as I said, it gets worse. So keep that image in your head. Charles Wedby, if you recall, our guy from the Summer Adventure, supposedly saw a photo of Snow and the skull, and he stated it was the same one he drank from back in the 30s. Now, how can that be? Wedby described in his story, the brain pan turned into a cup, a literal cup that they were drinking of. It had been covered in gold and had Death to Spotswood on it.
Death to Spotswood.
But to be very clear, that's not what's in this photo at all. But yet,
no, it's not.
He on one hand writes
very much not.
another description in his story, and then on the other hand, he says, that's what I saw, and that's what I drank out of. Now, his account, as we've been through this, his account said the cup was made from the top of the head. The picture shows the entire skull minus jawbone, and it doesn't seem to be engraved with Death to Spotswood, as far as I can tell. And the Wedby story doesn't add up. Perhaps he was just so curious about it, he went to great disingenuous lengths to figure it out. Frankly, lying to people, and that's effectively my takeaway from that.
But he was
story.
a judge.
He was
Our public officials should be
judge.
beyond reproach, Michael.
Well, is that true?
We'll just
Okay.
leave that there.
Yeah, sure.
Who knows where we'll be
Sure.
when this episode is ready?
Sure. Just goes to show you how messy people in history
People are messy.
People are really messy.
People are messy.
Glad I
Pirates especially.
All right. So other theories and stories about the skull. This can be summed up in a couple of sentences here. Others claim to spot the bowl at various dinner parties along the coast.
Okay.
I
Why
would
not?
give it the whole coast. There's probably a story here or there that pops up. There weren't that many and nothing really interesting to pull from. The skull was also reported to have been a central part of some fraternity rituals in the New England area. And I think even Skull and Bones had it for a while.
So when you brought this whole topic up, I had a vague recollection of a Skull and Bones Society at Yale having a connection to this. And then I went back and looked at that, and what the bones they are prominently connected to are reputed to be Geronimo's.
Oh, okay.
Not Blackbeard.
Well,
but that doesn't mean they don't have more.
I'm sure
there's some kind of genesis to this vague recollection. Of course, maybe this is just another Mandela effect for both of us. So
that's
we're gonna have
true.
to put a pin in that. Who knows?
Wow. That complicates things by 10.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe
that's
somebody
true.
fell into a portal or something here. I don't know.
Oddly enough, I did find it out. This is really off topic, but I came across an interesting video on YouTube, of course. Imagine that. That explains the Mandela effect and why we're experiencing it. But we're going to pin that.
No, we got to pin that. Now
That is really
I'm so
interesting.
intrigued.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, like fraternities have it for a while as the stories go, and then it's at parties, and probably these eyes wide shut kind of parties, where weird things happen.
Kinky.
Yeah. Well, but just all that weirdness of the super elites doing
Right.
weird things. That's all I'm trying to
No,
say.
the super elites never do weird things.
You're right. I take that. I take
Just
that
like
back.
our politicians
Wink,
are beyond
wink.
reproach.
My fingers
It's all
are
tied
crossed.
together.
So none of these
This
claims
took a
have
weird turn from pirates, although maybe it didn't. I mean,
I mean, the Brethren of the Coast are supposed to have had, the influence of the Knights Templar.
Oh,
and
no,
So now we're
not
talking.
them again.
I'm telling you,
Oh,
I
it's
could
all
have gone in
connected.
so many different directions.
oh my!
But I
gosh.
chose to cut them out. I pruned the octopus
All right,
back.
pins.
So
Let me get
none
the
of these
bag.
claims have been fully confirmed. So it's just stories and legends. All right. So let's wrap this up. So Maynard traveled to Bath, North Carolina after the battle with Blackbeard. That's fact. Wedby argues, okay, now there is no mention of Maynard heading back to Virginia with the head. Now remember, Wedby is trying to argue that the head stayed in North Carolina, and he's arguing that when Maynard went to Bath, North Carolina, which is basically up, I forget the river name, but up from Ocracoke in North Carolina, it could have been lost there.
Okay.
He also points out that Blackbeard supporters lived in Bath,
Sure.
including Governor Eden. Now, he believes the head was rescued from the bowsprit and fashioned into the silver skull bowl.
Okay.
Now, this is an attempt to offer plausibility that the skull stayed in North Carolina with a covert group of Brethren of the Coast.
Brethren of the Coast.
For their yearly ritual of corn whiskey drinking, and telling tales and being convivial as pirates.
Convivial pirates.
And letting in just random 20-year-olds into their party, which is not credible at all.
And male 20-year. Wait a minute. No, we're not going to go down
No,
that.
no.
Okay.
So many credible accounts place the head in Virginia, too. Lee describes the removal of Teach's head, the legend of his headless body circling the sloop, but his account says Maynard went to Bath and also back to Virginia.
Right.
He says the skull hung on a high pole on the west side of the mouth of the Hampton River as a warning. It's even called Blackbeard's Point.
Okay.
Now, several writers confirm this.
Okay. Because I thought you said that it was hung at the mouth of the Chesapeake as a warning to other pirates.
Right.
And that, I mean, you could argue where the mouth of the Chesapeake is, but Virginia.
On Blackbeard's Point.
Hampton River
Roads.
here. Yeah, all that is a fine location for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, from here, the head is recovered by an unknown person and fashioned into the silver cup or bowl. It's believed to have sat on the mantle in the Raleigh Tavern with attestations of libations imbibed from it. Okay,
I like this story. I just like the story.
It's interesting.
Seems poetic.
So which is true? Okay. Now, each is plausible. After the flesh decays, who's to say which skull is which? It could have been secretly cut down in Bath. And if Maynard believed the actual head was needed to claim the 100-pound sterling reward, I can see a substitute affixed to his bowsprit.
Okay.
But it does begin to stretch the point. Are you following me?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
if Wedby is
they had a
saying-
battle. They need to
hung-
prove. He needs to prove
Right.
who's who. But
In the meantime, he went to Bath.
Yeah, and there's not. This is a time before there are photos.
Right.
So if he just got another guy with a black beard,
Well,
who
I mean,
knows?
the flesh
If they-
is gone because he went to Bath for like a month.
Oh, I follow. Yeah,
I mean, that would have been, the birds would have cleaned the skull by that point, right?
There's all kinds of ways that this could have been.
Plus, he's got a crew full of, I mean, the guys that survived the battle are going to say, yeah, I watched him die, right? I mean, there's going to be plenty of argument. Okay.
The story's the battle. The story is not
exactly.
the skull.
And bring me the head.
Until
Okay, here's
you
a
get to
head.
our stuff.
Okay, but Wedby needs the skull to stay in North Carolina in order to turn back up on Ocracoke. So he makes this plausible connection that his friends in Bath could have ripped it off the bowsprit, rescued it, and then secreted away with it, and then it went into their ritual. Okay, but it stretches the point a little bit, but who knows? For now, the mystery persists. Now, DNA could be taken from the Peabody skull, but it sounds like the museum is content to let it sit in storage. And as for ghosts and legends, now we're really wrapping this up. As for ghosts and legends, those tales still circulate as a way to... I should be careful with this one. I almost did it.
Why?
Those tales still circulate as a way to desperately remember and commune with Edward Teach, a larger-than-life character. That's a quote that you like to use.
Where's my head?
I want to desperately commune with Teach.
Where's my head?
That's good. I'm going to keep that one. Separate that and use that one. So all in all, I think letting some things stay mysterious is okay. It keeps things interesting and unknown. The end. The end. The end.
Okay.
The end.
Okay.
Okay, do it again. Unknown.
Question.
Yeah.
Before we,
Yeah.
So you say DNA could be taken from the Peabody skull. Do we know if there are any confirmed descendant family members of Blackbeard? Of Edward Teach?
Oh, of Edward Teach? I don't know.
You would need one of those in order to match
what I mean
the
is
DNA.
you could take the DNA and say, is this skull from Bristol?
Yeah,
or is it
I was thinking.
Is it just a skull from a guy from Poughkeepsie, New York?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
or you could go. Yeah,
who is it?
Yeah,
what does it come back?
I gotcha. Yeah,
and that could at least, and you could probably catch the age. I think I'm not I don't know an expert, but you could probably carbon date it.
I just wasn't sure. I mean, the easiest thing would be if there was somebody who was known to be a descendant.
I don't know.
You could match, but there are some other things you can do with the DNA to make it say plausibly this is.
Yeah, just to get it in the ballpark.
Yeah, right.
Like this came from the British Isles, period.
Yeah. Like if
from
you
the 1650s.
If you discover, for example, that it's an enslaved person, shall we say.
Exactly.
You're going to know it's not Edward Teach.
Well,
right. Yeah,
and the idea is that Snow grabbed this from a biology class. So
right.
whoever donated their body and at that age is, and again,
probably...
I'm not saying DNA to figure out that it's exactly Blackbeard, but is it even plausible it could be him?
Okay.
So that's the idea there.
Okay.
And again, we just I hope we've painted a picture of this story where you've got people trying to lay claim to it, and you've got this very strange story of the skull becoming a drinking vessel, and obviously the picture is not a punch bowl.
No, not at all.
It's a skull painted with crappy paint.
Yeah.
It really looks like crackle paint from Michael's or something. Or a Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, it does.
You know
it
what I mean?
does. And she's got that strange Mona Lisa smile, making me really wonder how many other severed heads she's cradled.
She's like, "Oh, Tom.
Oh, Tom, thank you for bringing me another
future.
one.
Another. This was my boyfriend. Tom has no idea what's going to happen to him."
Yeah, and he's staring at it. She's looking at the camera, but he's looking down.
She believes it, and I believe her too. And I support whatever she says in her members-only jacket.
It's a great,
or whatever that is.
It's a great picture.
Yeah, that's going to the show notes.
It almost looks like something Michael Jackson might wear.
You're not far off. You're not far off. So that's the story. That's the story. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was so interesting, so weird, so unknown. Little twists and turns. And so what did you wanted to dig in on the Peabody?
Okay, so deep breath.
Quick break, folks. We'll be right back.
All right,
the
Peabody Essex Museum. It's an interesting place, and I've come into contact with it a couple of different ways. A few years back, my family went up to do a tour of Salem, and we did all the witch stuff, and then my wife suggested we should do something of actual culture, because how many wax museums can you go to? And she was very kind and put up with some ghost tours and that kind of thing, which she does enjoy, but it's. She says they're kitschy, and they are, especially in Salem.
They are.
They walk a very fine line between being respectful to the history and being completely kitschy. So she said, "All right, now that we've done your stuff,
let's go to a proper museum.
Let's go to a proper
and
museum."
And you're like, "Sure, there's more witch stuff there."
Yeah. So the Peabody Essex Museum exists in downtown Salem, and it's got several buildings that it owns. In fact, apparently it owns a lot of downtown Salem. It at the time, and apparently still to today, bills itself mostly as a fine art museum. And it was a magnificent fine art museum. I was impressed. I walked in expecting like a little rinky-dink thing.
Well, the Peabody is actually a joining of two separate museums that had their own pedigree.
I'm just
okay,
so I'm trying to. I just want to explain sort of what you encountered today and how I first encountered it.
Yeah.
The second time I encountered it, I was reading a book by a New England-based author named J.W. Ocker. He's right in our wheelhouse in that he likes weird stuff. And the book I was reading was actually A Season of the Witch, in which he and his family relocate to Salem for the month of October in the late teens, 20-teens, so that he can write specifically about what it is to experience Halloween season in Salem.
Right.
And what
I've seen it. I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
What he encountered with the Peabody Essex Museum was the question, well, if they're so old, why don't they have a witch exhibit? And this is where when we get back to the history.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
so the Peabody Essex is actually the evolution of two different private museums with very long histories in Salem.
Yeah.
And in order to understand this history, you have to know that Salem has a long maritime history, which many in the town would much prefer to be remembered for than the witch trials. And there's a lot more of the maritime history that is preserved in the architecture, the buildings, the streets, the docks, et cetera, than there is of the witch trials. There's only like one building remains standing, and some stuff from a few years after, like the House of Seven Gables from Hawthorne. There's even an extensive bayside property that the National Park Service maintains that is the Salem Maritime Park or whatever. That's the highfalutin stuff. So one of the two museums was founded by an association of sea captains, the East India Marine Society of 1799. So it's old. And they sailed all over the globe as traders, and they brought back curiosities from their exotic travels. These were items that included both fine art from the many places that they visited, but they also had things like serious.
They have scrimshaw.
Yeah,
I mean,
they had all of that too. They were serious anthropological artifacts from native tribes that they might visit in Africa or Asia or wherever. And they also, because they're sea captains and their crews, where they had a number of less savory oddities and curios from these same cultures. So think shrunken heads type stuff.
Yeah, right.
So somewhat kitschy, but
Ripley's Believe It or Not stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, so all of that was in the original collection that grew up over literally centuries. The other museum was a local history museum, and they maintained a collection of the records and local artifacts that, yes, did date back into the colonial period, the 1690s, the witch trial era. So when they came together, the Peabody Essex Museum, as the new entity, the heir to these two collections, basically had control over all the records from the witchcraft trials and a lot of the artifacts, although the records are officially state property and they're technically on loan, they're still with the Peabody Essex. So they've got a very diverse collection that's much larger than the fine art that I saw when I first encountered it.
Yeah.
They decided when they formed the PEM, as they like to be called, that they would focus on becoming a world-class art museum. They still had the collections,
Right.
but their focus was on just the hoity-toity stuff.
Sure.
The cultured artifacts.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. And because they're located downtown, they have a lot of influence over what happens in the town. So they have a very strained relationship with the typical,
probably the business council
tourist,
and everybody else, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
like
they have a lot of, and they got money, so they have influence over them too. So Acker, this is where we go back to him, suggests that Pem is embarrassed by the witch city reputation, and in his book, so this was my first encounter with, what's the other side of the Pem? He's talking about how the Pem steadfastly refused to display any of the things they had about the witch trials as part of this
what a shame
bias against them.
Yeah.
Except the book was done a few years ago, and when I went onto the PEM website, it's very clear that sometime in the past couple of years, they decided to start displaying the witchcraft artifacts. So they have an ongoing exhibition, and it's about to enter its second year.
Okay. So what do you think influenced that? Shame? Like, listen,
I don't know.
You have an opportunity. You're deciding that your words, and I don't know whether they've said this. They're embarrassed by the witch.
Acker suggests that they're embarrassed.
Okay, his idea.
Yeah,
and so I'd rather,
and I think
than be.
I think
it
he
comes
may have
down
a beef
to this.
against them
It's like,
too.
Look, whatever your opinion of it is, it's history.
Yeah.
And you hold artifacts. and you have the opportunity to put forward the story about it.
So
they could
yes.
reshape the story.
I suspect
and frankly,
you're right.
and frankly, and I'll just put it out as an idea, not that I'm saying this is what they should do, but an idea would be, if you so dislike the way the town treats the witch lore now, if you put a different agenda together, that is to say, here's the history, here's what you can come and learn about people and culture and the past, and yes, witches, it would maybe put to shame the kitschy approach that the museums
You'd get along with Ocker, because there's a whole chapter in the book in which he sits down to interview the public relations folks from PEM.
Yeah.
And he pitches exactly that. Why aren't you taking, I understand your more serious approach to things in a museum context.
Yeah. Well,
you have an opportunity to be more serious than the 8 wax museums down the road, literally.
Yeah.
Why aren't you bringing the items into the public view to create
put it in the proper context?
And even from a financial point of view, you stand to gain.
Right.
And at the time, the people who were interviewed said, we are just not interested in doing that. But I suspect that there has been some kind of change somewhere along the way where they realized what kind of cash cow they were ignoring.
Okay, there's the
and
cash cow.
They did have that opportunity to take a more serious approach towards the history, which I think, again, reflects sort of my concerns.
Yeah. Well, and before I get dragged for saying, rewrite the story and put those other businesses out of business. No. My view is there's room for all of the interpretations, and the ones that get the foot traffic, right? That this is where the capitalism would win out. Like, look, your wax museum cheapens it, or whatever the opinion may come to be. Let it play out. It will work itself out. There's room for all of it.
There certainly is. Anyone who's been to Salem, engaged Salem as a tourist, as an interested observer, as an outsider, can certainly see that there are levels of engagement there that are you're never going to satisfy them all. And maybe and I think and I suspect that's probably what brought PEM around to the idea is there are different ways to engage this story. Yeah. And maybe we have a responsibility as the adults in the room. And I am taking the snooty approach to this, but I can see it. Yeah. As the adults in the room, we need to put the real history out there and I try to engage people where they're at. But if those same people want to go down to look at the wax museums, they can. And I would have done both. I did do both. Yeah. I kind of set this up humorously, and then my wife talked me into it. But, hey, it's a world-class museum. It's a world-class museum, truly. Mm-hmm. Right. And when she explained that to me, I said, oh, well, then we'd be foolish not to go. Right. And I think that, we should probably go back to the Blackbeard skull bit. I think that explains for many reasons why they are not showing the Blackbeard skull, in that is not in the same context as the witchcraft records artifacts. And they have artifacts from some of the people. They have, I think, the guy, Giles Corey, the man who was pressed to death. I think they have his walking stick.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They've got that level of detail in the artifacts. With Blackbeard's skull, it's an artifact without any proven provenance. They have no clue what it is.
Actually, that's not true.
Well, they know it's snows.
Okay. Well, that's
right,
good enough.
Okay, go on.
Because it's a touch. I mean, in my mind, right, it touches all the history that they are supposed to be, stewards of, nautical history, piratical history.
True. Yeah.
And it was donated, and it was a part of his collection. Yeah. I honestly, he wrote 100 books. I don't know whether they were good. Right. I imagine if he's got 100 books that he was either like vanity pressing his way into the world.
I don't know.
Or no, he was actually a very good scholar, and he just happened to have this kitschy thing that he carried around. And he told people, wink, wink, I have this skull. Don't you know, it's Blackbeard's, ha, 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 ha. But it's still an artifact from a man who used it in a way, and it can be displayed in the context that tells its true story.
So now,
like
okay,
Edward R. Snow.
so now we're
Period.
getting back to the other reason why you probably wouldn't display a skull in that context in this kind of museum, which is trying to be
in this type of museum. Okay.
okay.
They don't want to display that type of artifact. That's fine.
Yeah,
So donate it to someone else.
Right. So it's not the current. All right, let me back up.
But they do loan it.
That's the part
that's
the part that gets me. It's a real hot topic. I'm checking my notes again here. It's a real hot topic around museum and academic circles about how you contextualize the display of human remains.
Oh, I see. Okay. No, that's an interesting aspect. I didn't consider that.
Yeah. The reason is that there's no denying that when you have artifacts that include or are human remains, there is a huge amount that can be studied effectively about the past. So they're not saying we can't study these things typically or as a blanket statement, but they are trying to treat them respectfully. For example, they are looking at the Native American remains that they have in their collections, and they are actually at this point trying to identify which existing current tribes would best match up with the remains so they can be returned, because these are remains that their first and foremost context are human remains belonging to an existing culture with their own religious burial practices, and you don't want to disrespect that. And in many cases, the remains that have been in collections for a while, the study has already been done. We dug them up in this place. Whatever you're going to get out of them, you've pretty much gotten out of them.
And that's an interesting aspect that they have to deal with. I mean, and the idea would be, what's the precedent across Egyptian remains?
A lot of those
or any other. Are we going to pull those back? And
it gets complicated fast, but in many cases, those are also being returned to Egypt.
Like it's an existing.
But it gets complicated really fast.
Yeah.
But you're also under the same path. Like, yes, some mummies are still on display around the world, depending on what country you're in and how important these ethical questions become, and how they were acquired and all that. Yeah. But often in the more academic context, they are displayed in a manner that puts them back into the religious ceremony context, so that people can learn from them and understand why these things happened, why it was important. There's a whole process that they have gone through to figure out how do we want to display these remains, as opposed to just randomly displaying.
I get you. It's complicated.
Yeah, and
I got an idea.
And in some cases, they've removed the human mummies and sent them back to Egypt to take care of for Egypt.
And they can display them there if they wish, if the culture decides it.
But they'll talk about mummification by displaying, say, a cat mummy and explain the context around that, because the processes were the same. So they can do it without putting a human being.
I get you.
On a garish display.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
I get you.
And to give you another idea of how these ethics are being played out today, I sent you an AI generated image for us to use.
Right.
And you said, "Oh, that's interesting. I came up with that." So.
Well, no, it was just the interpretation, and it actually helped me kind of open my idea to the words that I already had. Yeah. Right. The enlarged. And then the talk of having a ladle.
Well, I gave very specific directions to the AI about what I wanted, and it came back and said, "I cannot do that because it would be showing dismembered human remains."
Okay, right. The AI rules.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I got it, and it also made me kind of wonder, because I get odd reflections back from the AI generator. Yeah, how soon the FBI is going to be knocking on my door to find out, why are you generating all these?
Whatever. I think they're going to come, like, if you have the wrong can opener these days. I don't know.
But the ethics rules are being put into these tools, and these ethics are not far off from what I'm describing in the academic
I got you.
as
Yeah,
well.
it's messy. And those are
Yeah.
very good points. Thank you for bringing those forward. I mean, the display of artifacts is never straightforward. And nothing is really nothing. And that goes to show you, and I say this a lot, right? It's never as simple as it seems. So, yeah, I mean, those are interesting points. So I have an idea. Tell a pirate joke, for Pete's sake. Let's bring it around. Let's bring it back around.
Okay, you ready? You ready? All right. I
know you have a couple over there.
I've got a whole.
We can even go to the.
I've got a series. I've got a series that sort of build on each other.
Pick the best one.
Oh.
All right.
I think
two.
Oh.
All right, 3.
Why is pirating so addictive?
Why, John?
Once you lose your hand, you get hooked.
Oh.
Where do pirates go to buy a hook?
Where?
The second-hand store. How much did the pirate pay for his hook and peg?
An arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now let's get serious again.
Okay.
Those are good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They worked. It worked. I was saying earlier that for as brutal as they are really marketed to kids, and they have been for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
The stories and the kids dressing. I dressed up as a pirate as a kid, and I loved Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean. That still is a favorite ride of mine, to go and experience that ride every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
And also interesting.
And the depiction of pirates on the ride owes an awful lot to I think it's N.C. Wyeth, who was illustrating, but through paintings, things like Treasure Island and whatnot.
Pyle.
And Ernie, not Ernie Pyle.
Not Ernie Pyle.
The other Pyle.
The other Pyle.
Yeah.
The illustrator.
Yeah, but which is interesting.
Look that up. Can you look?
I should look that up, because that's. I did not expect to go down that
I'm going to
path.
actually type that in right now.
All right, I'm going to let you pull that up while I...
Howard Pyle.
There
we go.
Ernie Pyle's like a World War II personality.
Yeah.
Howard Pyle and N.C. Wyeth, who created those images. Those images we look back and say are the romantic pirates with the headbands and the flowing clothes and the big boots and the jackets.
And oddly, a lot of that's, it wasn't ubiquitous, but some of it wasn't far off for certain characters.
For certain characters,
for
but
most
the average
part, this guy
crewman
was just like in a rags.
Yeah,
basically,
well,
the average. I mean, not rags, but cloth clothing.
Yeah, one of the interesting things historically about pirates is how freely they moved about as sailors, because they didn't have passports like we have today to track who you are individually. It was not unusual, and I have run afoul of some current Navy personnel by suggesting this, but it's true. It was not unusual for, say, young Edward Teach to sign on to the British Navy in Bristol,
right?
End up in the West Indies, get off the ship, sign on with a privateer's crew. And a privateer is a sanctioned pirate, somebody whose captain, it was a ship whose captain had gotten a letter.
Don't dig any more rabbit holes.
Okay. They got a letter from the government saying you can go raid the enemy. He would get off the ship, the privateer ship, sign on to a cargo ship, get impressed into a pirate crew.
Because they have skills.
Yeah.
Right? And if they're navigators or if they can pull sheets, they can get around.
Sailing was a multifaceted skill, and they were in high demand, and they moved very freely among these crews during the golden age of piracy.
Well, and the one thing that I alluded to, and I pulled it out because I didn't think we would go down these holes, but the idea that when you've got idle men, the wars are over for now, and they could flare up at any moment. Like the French declare war on England, or the England and Spain, decide to team up against the French. I mean, there were lots of different engagements happening down there, and a lot of these. But in the times of lull, there were sailors that were like, I've got to feed myself. Well, I'm going to go to sea with a pirate crew. Yep. And then there were lots of eras of pardons where
Blackbeard was
given.
pardoned.
He was pardoned for a while, but then went back to sea.
Went back to it, yeah.
And as far as his
elided over that, but yes,
there's a lot we didn't touch upon.
No, and it's a fascinating history about the various ages of piracy and
Right.
how they moved about and what they really looked like versus
Well, and you
the
had asked
romantic
about
image.
whether he had any progeny at all, and
Yeah.
well, he was married
At least-
16 times.
Yeah, okay,
So you know,
yeah.
and this was not, you know.
That's why I was curious. Like I didn't have the number in my head, but I thought
think
he'd been married.
He may
and-
have fathered children, and that's probably, I would say the odds are pretty good with 16 different wives, provided
Somebody's-
they survived, because there was some suggestion that he wasn't very nice to them, and he did fall in love with them, but there was a lot of alcohol too. So, but anyway,
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
we're floundering here.
No, we're
in
not. We're
the
just
wind.
we're not floundering, but we are definitely
We're wrapping this up.
skipping over the waves here with this material.
Well, and what I mean to say, we're not floundering, but we are talking about things that we can come back and revisit, both pirates in general and then specifics about characters. There are a lot of interesting historical details that we could come back to, maybe in a pin report for different things.
I'm suggesting that we cut this last bit into a pin report. I think we should cut this last bit into a pin report we drop after.
No, I was saying we're an hour and 16, which is a good place to wrap it up.
All right,
we're
well,
right
that's
on
good.
time. We're right on time. So
Okay.
we filled this episode very well with Blackbeard, and we hope you enjoyed it. It was fun to cover, and I enjoyed actually going through my old books. I used to love these books on Blackbeard. I'd read them all, and then to go back and go through them all again was a lot of fun. So thank you all for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this one. And we're going to be coming back here in another week, and I am blanking on what's coming next, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. It's we have a lot in the can already. I just got to edit it and put it out there. So.
Yeah, and behind the scenes stuff, we've kind of recorded some things out of order, so that's why we're losing track of
Lots
what's
of
what.
out of
Whereas
order,
before we recorded them in order and knew exactly what we were going to do next.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for listening, gang, and we'll see you on the next one.